So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And welcome to our monthly debrief for November of 2024. I know October was a little on the slower side, but November was...
chock full of games.
I felt like chock full of games.
Yeah.
And is continuing to be. We even gamed today. That's right.
Yeah.
We filmed this and it was still November.
My gosh, it's November 29th.
That might be the first time this has ever happened, because usually we finish the month.
Yeah, we've done it at least one other time.
Yeah.
At least once.
Which, you know.
Not very often.
We've been doing this for nearly, this is our,
47th
totally
episode?
fourth but one. Yeah, so two in the month. That's a pretty bad batting average, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But you got to remember, in baseball, though, 30% of the time you're a Hall of Famer.
That's true.
I'm just bringing that, and you know what? At 275, as long as you had a lot of dingers tied on there, you're good. So we've had some home runs, and maybe only hit 250, but we might be a fringe Hall of Fame.
I don't think that's 2 out of 48 is anywhere close to either of those.
I'm not good at math. That's like 088.
It's real bad. But yeah,
Worse than that.
So this is the Thanksgiving weekend when we're recording this, and we've just finished up doing a whole bunch of gaming over the past 2 days.
Well, literally, we've gamed 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
Right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which has been pretty good.
And it's been...
I've enjoyed it.
Extremely fun. Mm-hmm. And we had a kind of a roller coaster of a month when it comes to wargaming as well, because at the beginning of the month we did San Diego HistCon, SD HistCon, whatever they're calling it these days.
About 15 different names.
One of my favorite conventions we've ever been to. I like to call it SDHC because then I can't mess up the actual name of it.
Sure.
Because I want to...
Yeah, it's just the acronym.
Yeah, whereas I think it's SD HistCon, but in my brain I always want to say...
I think it's San Diego Historical Games Convention, but they leave off the G.
Yes, but I get mixed it up with the Kansas City Historic Con.
Sure.
Casey, it's Historicon that
Something
they
like
use.
that, yeah.
But that's not what SD HistCon is. They have this different little name, but I get it mixed up all the time. So my apologies for all of those people out there who organize both of those events, and here's me just calling them both and cross-pollinating.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
We've gone to SD HistCon. I'm also saying, maybe I should just say SDHC, like you talked about. We've gone to that now twice.
Yes.
2 years consecutively. We've gone to Buckeye Game Fest, I think, like 4 or 5 years
5 times,
consecutively. Yeah. I still give the lean towards Buckeye Game Fest, only because it takes 2.5 hours for us to get there. It literally is jaunt over.
The convenience
Game.
allows us to game more.
Yes.
Right? Like we spend almost an entire day traveling to
When we
go
go
to
to
SDHC,
yeah.
and almost an entire day back. The time difference blows, honestly.
It does, because I'm up at 4:30 in the morning in San Diego.
But, the weather's amazing. The food's amazing.
It's great. The
location's amazing, right? There's all that has its stuff going for it, but
in my opinion, it's a very close second.
Yeah.
But very close. But I just love Buckeye Game
There's
Fest.
nothing like loading the car full of stuff, not having to worry about carry-ons and luggage, and driving 2 hours and having, solid days of gaming.
Yeah. I also
without
feel
the
like
jet
at
lag.
SD HistCon, we do more videos, whereas at Buckeye Game Fest, I don't think we do a couple.
Yeah, we do a couple, but it's
not as many.
Yeah, so that's one of the big
Different
differences.
crowd.
Yeah, I think Buckeye Game Fest is, and originally started as like a game playing convention, right? There's people who are selling stuff there, but it's like a guy selling his own stuff.
Yeah.
Like I can go and rent a booth and do that.
Well, Blue Steve or...
Yeah, whereas Blue Panther's like the only wargaming publisher there. And so we'll often, I think we make videos with them. We make videos with Catastrophe Games because Tim's there typically, or has been for a couple of years. David Thompson's there, as opposed to something like SDHC where it's a who's who of wargame design and publishing and development. And so it's like, there's a ton of prototypes there, and so we're jumping around lots of different things making videos.
Yeah, it's just a different vibe, a different setting, a different clientele or participant.
And that's for us. The reality is if you're just a game player and you go to both of those, you're going to have
a blast.
wonderful game playing convention of both of those.
WBC is also pretty damn good.
WBC is incredible.
I don't even know if I still like Buckeye Game Fest a lot, but I really enjoyed WBC as well. Why are we talking about this? Is today's topic conventions?
It's not, but here we are. I think that if WBC had better food amenities, it would be kind of a landslide of how much better I think it is.
Yeah.
Because even though it's
so
pretty
hard.
hot and sweaty in the summer, like the food there,
Well, you just eat the same thing.
it's expensive and it's
over
not good.
and over and over again.
So,
Even to the point
but
where
like
I
we
think,
take a cooler of food because
well, yeah,
it's like,
the last couple years we brought like lunch meat and because that breaks it up and it's low cost.
yeah.
Anyway,
But like,
WBC is so damn good.
WBC.
I do too.
I love WBC.
Yep, it's so dang good.
But yeah, so we went to SDH. Let's talk about the games that we played. In
Sure.
them. We'll start there.
And I don't think we need to go as in depth because we already have a debrief video,
but
right?
if you haven't watched that yet, we'll just run through the things that we tackled.
Yeah. Well, here's one while I...
So we play, this is Guerre Eclair from Nuts Publishing. We have a prototype copy for it. It's very nice and gave it to us. It's played on this little map, part of the combat rations. This is volume 3. It's not out yet, but it's a 1940 Blitzkrieg. Guerre Eclair is the French term for Blitzkrieg. This is really fun, 2-player game.
Very good game.
In that combat ration series. Extremely fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it plays in 45 minutes.
it might be my favorite of that series.
Oh, it's
so far.
really good.
It's because it feels a lot more meaty than it might look.
Well, and I also thought, as it showed in the gameplay, as the French, I ended up winning. How often do the French really have a chance of winning?
No, or what does winning look? Winning looks like
right.
Not very fun anyway.
But it was really good. Yeah, that was really good. We also got a game of 6-player Here I Stand.
Yes, so-
All right, Virgin Queen.
Andrew hosted Virgin Queen here. Let me just get the stuff real quick because it's right
Oh yeah,
here.
we talked about that last time, but I had put mine.
But they're so fun.
Oh, it's very good.
So
I'm glad you kept all of them.
Andrew has like a magnetized play aids that we had on stand so everyone could see him across the
Victory
big
point
table.
track.
He'd created like a little play aid for everyone based on their country. And inside of this, there was a letter that you could have like strategic instructions and things like that and just like helpful strategy tips all on here.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of that there was a couple new players. And so that was just really fun. He really went the extra mile hosting this.
Yep.
It was an incredible game. It was an incredible time.
And really
it took
we
us
got-
half the day.
Having 3 new players, 3 people that had never played before.
Yeah.
We got that in about 6 hours of game time.
And the game was as short as it could have been.
Did it go?
We completed 3 turns because there
Right.
was an automatic victory with
Yeah.
a religious victory.
Yeah.
Which normally
Doesn't happen.
Normally these games will go when we play 4 turns. Usually in the
4 to
4th
5, yeah.
or 5th turn is when it's
over.
clinched, and that's very typical.
But it was very fun.
Incredible to get back
Yep.
to it as well.
Yep. Very much enjoyed that again.
Love Virgin Queen.
Another game we played at SD HisCon was Shiloh the First Day, which is volume 11 in the Blind Sword series.
The American Civil War
Yep.
is but it uses the blind sword system. This was our first true blind swords game.
Yep.
We've played a lot of blind swords adjacent stuff that Herman's designed elsewhere, like the At Any Cost 1870, incredible game by the way.
Yep.
And his Most Fearful Sacrifice, which is the Black Swan system, which shares some DNA, at least the activation system does, which is a big Gettysburg game from Flying Pig. But our first real blind swords, Grant from Pushing Cardboard hosted this with us, and we sat and we played like the major battle engagement part of
Yep.
this in a scenario that took us 3 hours.
Yeah,
it was
3.5 hours, yep.
And wonderful game.
Yeah,
Absolute
it was a blast.
It was so much fun. There was a lot more, back and forth and maneuvering that you might expect in something that's a line of battle game. But we experienced and saw and did things that felt really good in those line of battle games that some of the games don't neglect. Like being able to pull guys off one part of the line and put them elsewhere. Some games are so sticky with their zones of control, or it's just like so crippling that you really can't or shouldn't do that. And so I feel like some of those games get quite static. I was surprised at how much movement there was in this.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
you get into there was a lot of that rolling chaos that I feel like I'm reading in the Civil War books that I'm reading that some games don't. It's just like, here's my line of guys, and here's your line of guys. And you get the back and forth, but the swirling madness of, we charged up the hill, and it was like, who knows what's going to happen, and it was madness. Extremely good.
Well,
I really like
And the really great part of this system, in my opinion, is the chit pull system.
Yeah.
You pull the chits, they activate typically either your CIC, who can activate anybody one time, or your different brigade commanders, and they typically have 2 or 3 brigades underneath them. But it's just so good. You never know who's going to activate. You never know when they're going to activate. There's some event chits that come in. It's really good. Very well done.
And here's the topic. A lot of really tactical choices to make in that game, even though it is not a tactical game necessarily. Like some of the things that you're thinking about, it's like, okay, here's this like open hex, and then there's like a fence and a building and a guy there, and like, okay, if I attack with these guys first, then these guys might get a bonus. Lots of really interesting things like that in a game that some of those games don't feel like they have a lot of that part of it in it.
Right.
Those were wonderful.
You participated in a celebrity game of John Company.
Yes.
I started it, but was really, really tired. That was, I think, our second day.
Yeah, that was Saturday evening.
I was just done, so I left. You ended up staying and winning.
Yep, I ended up winning. That was a really good time. That might be that's not the only time I've ever won that game, but I think I've won it one other time. But it was a joy. It was a blast. Everyone was there. Cole Worley put the event on, and he had like a massive 4x6 blinged out map with like actual wooden ships and all sorts of fancy blown up pieces. It was really, really enjoyable. And I was able to kind of play with some people that I'd not played games with before as well. So that was pretty cool. And any excuse to play John Company is a good excuse for me.
I want to say that was, I mean, I didn't really play in it, but I think that was about our 10th game of John Company.
Yeah, I've played that a lot.
It's fun.
It's a very fun game. I really liked it. We also kind of pushed around and played a couple turns of Greek tragedy, trying to learn this from Blue Panther. A little bit rough around the edges still with the rules.
I actually think there's something there. It's just not really clear.
Yeah, and it was a lot to try to digest in a small rule book, which is great.
Yeah.
But
and there's so many pieces on the board and so many different locations and spots, and it was bigger than I expected it to really be.
Yeah, the combat system's interesting, but it's also quite
very
involved, and so it makes the game quite long, especially for.
I always think I play a game, and it's that old phrase of is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think with this one, I think there's some good juice there. I'm not sure it's worth the squeeze.
And I think with a bit of development, it could very easily.
Well, it would need to be tightened up, rules improved. I just think it would just need to be tightened up quite a bit.
Yeah, but
there's something there, though. I'm glad we played it.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then we also played a nice big 5-player game of Crisis 1914. We played this with. Who played with us?
Maurice Suckling, the designer.
Maurice Suckling.
Mark Herman.
John Wolfe
from Minnesota.
Friend of the show, John Wolfe.
Yeah.
So this is not really a war game. This is kind of a political brinksmanship, one-upmanship style game.
It's really good,
it's this
though.
tableau
It's really
builder.
good.
Oh yeah. Now I've played this a couple times before, and so it was fun for me to get back to it and play it with Maurice. Always fun to play a game with the designer.
Yeah.
Although when they win, it's kind of like, okay,
he did win.
Okay, dude.
And I will say, with him, he was teaching 2 or 3 other tables, kind of at the same time.
Yeah,
he was answering questions about the game as he was playing the game and kicking our teeth in. So pretty impressive.
But it was nice to know that what I had played was also the correct implementation.
Yeah.
And partly that's because the rules of this aren't necessarily some of the most clear. Like, when I was reading this and me and Jeff Dreher up in Minneapolis were trying to learn this, it was a bit of a struggle.
Back in the box.
And there were questions that arose from the rules and some of the components and what we're supposed to do. We got those questions answered, but it was a bit more of a struggle, which normally, that's very abnormal for Worthington. Usually their rules are real tight and real good. But when we played it with Maurice, he taught the game, and I was like, cool, I had done it all correctly.
I didn't have any problem picking up what they were putting down.
Yeah.
And frankly, I would say this is a very fun game. It's very interesting and unique.
I enjoy it immensely.
It is more Euro because you're building a tableau than it is a war game. But you're building a tableau of cards. There's cards that allow you to build a bigger tableau. There's so much asymmetry between the 5 different factions.
Yeah, and
very fun.
And you're doing this racing up this track, trying to get the most. But if you get the most, typically you're going to incur these tension penalties that you can't do as much later, which means people are going to overtake you. And if you get too much, you trigger World War I and you lose. So it's a wonderful game.
This was really a hidden gem for me, and we still need to do. I'd love to do another play and then do a review of it, but I very much enjoyed this game.
I've liked this every time I've played it, but the more I play it, the more confident and comfortable I get with the rule set, and so it's just becoming even better.
And really, I think this is a 2-hour game, right? 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Once you know
the rules.
Yes. And it can be much shorter than that if Austria is really aggressive.
Got it.
If they get really aggressive, those mobilizations get in there, and someone can insta-lose quite quickly.
And I was Austria. And I had to worry about that mobilization card that got into my deck. And you really have to change the way you play the game. But that's fun. That's unique. Very interesting. So, very much enjoyed that.
Yes.
We finished the weekend by playing a large, overblown copy of Battles of the American Revolution Savannah.
Yes, which we don't have a copy of.
Right. 3-player with Mark Miklos, dressed out in all his American Revolutionary War regalia. He actually had a
full Hessian
officer's uniform,
authentic uniform,
made of wool, very heavy,
very sweaty.
I think by the end of the day,
we were all like,
well, and we had those stupid tricorns on that we bought, and those were killing me.
Yeah,
because they were they're not wool, but a thicker, less breathable fabric.
From a biological standpoint, the amount of heat that you radiate from your head to literally cool your body down, that's how your body works. And we're like, it's 70 degrees in San Diego wearing tricorns. It was warm.
But it was a blast to play with him. We revisited that system that we have played a couple of years ago in Brandywine. Very much enjoyed it.
And we played it start to finish to the bitter end, pretty much.
21 turns?
It was like 5.5 hours.
Okay. And I very much enjoyed it. Lots of maneuver at the beginning of the game, which I thought was very good.
And then it was just this siege assault.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was really, really, really enjoyable.
I would like to play it again now, knowing what we did, because I think we could do some things differently that would not necessarily end ultimately the same.
Yes,
but maybe they would.
Well, or
we had a discussion with Mark about
but they
that.
might be less likely.
Less likely. But that system's very good. I very much enjoyed that. Had a blast with that. Did we get all the games?
Oh, we played Common Sense.
Oh, yeah.
Which we don't have. That was a prototype from Sam London.
And it was previously called Absolved from All Allegiance. Quite a mouthful, so we changed it to Common Sense.
That is some common sense there to have done that.
But that's a very cool little system where it's a trick-taking game. And the trick-taking is important because the person that wins that then gets to do what's on the cards. And on the cards, there's various functions like move or recruit or raid or other things that were going on. And you got to play your cards smart. You got to figure out, okay, because the British deck is better than the Patriots deck, but the Patriots deck's a little better at trumping.
Yeah.
So it's learning to play that, I think, will be a very interesting experience.
Very cool game.
But I did enjoy that quite a bit. It's supposed to be released or announced on the P500 sometime in the near, I don't know how near, but in the future.
Is that everything that we played?
I believe so. It was like 8 games.
Yeah. If it's not, there is a full video.
Yeah, there's a full video debrief.
Kind of debriefing all of the stuff that we did that you'll see on there. Oh, I wanted to show. Mark Miklos was very generous, and he brought us chocolate bars from Colonial Williamsburg.
Very
kind. I have one
kind.
with Benjamin Franklin on it, which is very cute.
That was all the games we played.
Okay, good.
I went through and made sure.
I just don't want to forget anyone.
Yep, we got it.
That was
now the other games we played in the month.
Yes.
Right. But one final comment. SD has gone. Unfortunately, I don't believe next year we're going to be able to go.
No, I think it's unlikely that that's something we'll be able to do.
Which hurts. But we will look forward then to in 2 years.
Into 26.
Because it's just a great, great convention. Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, if you're on the West Coast or you want to do a pilgrimage, that is something that I would recommend. Go travel for that.
Yes, 100%. Very worth it. So what else did we play in November? I feel like we still got a lot of.
So we played Warfighter Vietnam,
Yep.
which is the
Excellent
latest
game.
offering in the Warfighter series from DVG, Dan Verson Games. Warfighter, if you don't know, there you go, is, you can pause it. This is a solitaire, but we like to play it co-op game. It says it plays like, does it say players? No, you play like 1 to 6, but 6 would be a stretch.
6 would be, because you never really have more than 2 or 3 guys.
If you were playing 4 players, you'd have to play like the biggest possible mission only. And there's like really only 2 missions in the box you could do.
This is a perfect solitaire game because there's nothing that you can't do on your own, but it is fun to play it cooperatively because we kind of talk through things and we work together a little differently.
Well, and you play with, if you're playing with multiple player soldiers, that's a lot of cards to manage on your own.
By one person, yeah.
Now, something that they've done in this, and I think in the previous one, is that they've created something called team soldiers.
Yes, yeah, I think it's called team
soldiers. Which those are player soldiers with all the cool stuff without the deck of cards.
Without cards, yeah.
So they're really powerful, but you don't have to do quite as much hand management.
Yeah.
So that is something that I think that is a response to people having to deal with 3 decks of cards, and that's kind of miserable. So I do appreciate they've done that. But they've made some incredible mechanical and thematic additions and changes to this that just make it feel so Vietnam and totally change the approaches to how you do some of the missions in here as well.
Well, and furthermore, 2 other things. They do have a campaign mode that we have not played yet.
It is a whole separate expansion.
I think it's,
it's over there.
It's called, it's the Apocalypse Now. I can't remember what it was. Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness. But
for legal reasons, it's not Apocalypse Now.
I definitely want to play that with you together because I think that would be really fun. But the other thing that they've done so well here is they've redone the rule book.
Yes.
They have gone away from the all Warfighter versions in one to now you just get Warfighter Vietnam. It says Warfighter Nam.
This is the rule book, and it's
like 30 pages.
It's 50 pages.
Okay.
But the pages like have a lot of negative space. They're double spaced, and the text is large. So this would be a 25-page rule book with any other company, but it makes it much more legible for us with bad eyesight. And they stripped out all the stuff it didn't need. And it's not like they copy and pasted the text from the other rule books, which is what they had previously been doing.
Redone.
They wrote it from the ground up, and it is light years better than what has been in the past couple boxes. And so when I say that Warfighter is back, it is back in a big way. Well, I'm very happy with this.
We played Warfighter Fantasy last year. We were very excited about it. Really had been hotly anticipating that. When we got those boxes, we were so excited. And it just completely fell flat because it did not work.
No.
Now, I've seen some other people, it does work, and okay, it doesn't work. The rules were bad. The way it worked, they tried to change too much. I'm not opposed to change, but they went away from what I thought worked well.
But to me, it was the issues where the rules were so unclear that it made it seem like there was component missing. And it was so crazy that I'm like, there can't be components missing. It must be that the rules are bad. But neither of those are good things. And it was just such a struggle for a game that we were so excited for.
But they did a first-class job with this one. It's very, very good. It's going to be one of my favorite games from this year,
this
no doubt.
comes with like it's so easy to recommend. Because even Warfighter Mediterranean had that 95-page combined rule book, and it was like, I know how to play Warfighter. So I can play it really easily. But someone who had never played before and got that chunk of rule book, I had people asking me questions about the rules. I'm like, I'm so sorry that I recommended that to you. But Warfighter Vietnam,
Put that game up on top of, because we're going to talk about that.
We'll
That's
get
part
back
of the
to
topic. But very good. We've played 3 or 4 missions. I don't think we did come close to winning.
We came close to winning.
One time, and we made some early decisions that hurt us.
Extremely challenging.
I think the other times we just have been blitzed.
But sometimes
but I don't care. It's still fun.
Especially in a solo or a co-op, that's what you want.
Yeah,
you want to be a struggle. Another game that we played in November was
another Vietnam game,
and this is just the lid, so I have the back of the box.
It's set up over here.
Is Purple Haze. So this is from Phalanx, and this is kind of a more. It's still a tactical cooperative Vietnam game, right? There's a theme, but this one is more narrative based. So you have a strategic board that or like a mission board that you're moving from location to location through different terrains and things like that. You have like individual guys. It's all set up right here. Like you have a dude, and he is a squad leader, and he has weapons and equipment that you equip him with in that tactical way. You move together as a squad, going through, hey, you fight an encounter, there's a random encounter deck. Oh, you get to this particular marker. This marker means you read a paragraph in a book. So you read the paragraph in the book, and it'll say, you either do this or this. Choose your own adventure. Okay, we'll do this. Take you to a different paragraph in the book. Cool. This particular Marine who was doing this makes a check against their abilities. Makes a multiple dice check against abilities. Success or failure, go to a different paragraph. Go to a different paragraph. Guess what? You got ambushed. And so then it has a tactical setup. You have a full tactical board that you put your guys out, you put their guys out. You use all your weapons and abilities. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Initiative, initiative, initiative. All the things that you'd like. So it has a lot. It's much more than just a choose your own adventure game.
Yeah.
I want that to be clear. This is actually quite a big and quite a beefy game.
Well, and this is a game we played about 3 or 4 years ago as a prototype. We did a video, very much enjoyed it. We were only given one mission at that time.
Yes.
Mission number 1. Played it, we loved it, but then now they've finished it, and it was very different than that version. Really in a couple of areas, mainly the tactical combat.
Yeah, the combat system, totally different.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more different in ways that are only positive.
And it works really well. I like what they've done.
So if you watch that preview video and we're talking about the combat is totally different.
Yeah. Be aware of that.
But the way that the dice are rolled and resolved is the same for like the regular tests. And the way that the stories and the paragraphs work, and it's extremely well written and the flavor's wonderful, right? It sounds like you're watching an episode of something.
All of the vernacular, cherries and bush, and I mean, all that stuff is woven into it.
And I would say
there's some adult comments.
There's a lot of mature themes in this, right? There's a lot of pretty intense choices that you have to make.
Moral dilemmas.
There's a lot of adult language in this. And they don't shy away from the darker side of, the tactical nature of the war.
And sometimes you're going to be confronted with those things, and there's not really great choices sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's like bad or slightly less bad.
It's interesting, but I've had a blast with this.
Yeah, all that to say, this one's not one you can play with kids.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're not going to have your 12-year-old strap it on, and you could, but
yeah, I guess
you would just have to read it and sanitize it, which could be done. Yeah, it could easily be done. But it's a great game.
Yes. This is
it's a great game.
Extremely good.
We have played, is it 4 scenarios now?
Yeah, we completed Mission 4 last night.
We've leveled twice.
Yes.
Or advanced, I can't remember what they call it.
Yeah, upgrade.
But it's so good. And now our soldiers, it's very interesting because their array of abilities have now doubled.
Yeah, they just get better.
And I feel like I have so many more additional choices. Makes it a little more complex because you're worried about 15 different things, but boy, it's rewarding.
But you can do more stuff to challenge what's in front of you. Really, really good. Looking forward to playing much more of that. That's for sure.
We played that in November. We also have played Frosthaven.
Yes.
We played Frosthaven all day today with our father-in-law. If you don't know what Frosthaven is, because I'm not sure
Then get out from under the rock you live in.
We haven't talked about it for a long time because we haven't played it in a long time.
Frosthaven is a massive dungeon crawly style tactical game that has this wonderful card fueled system by Cephalofair Games, and it's a 10 out of 10 for us.
See, I would pronounce that Cephalofair.
Sure.
Is it Cephalofair?
No, it probably
also
isn't,
say
because it's a cephalopod.
Yeah, you say aluminium.
Yeah, I mean
aluminum. But whatever. I'm just jerking your chain.
I don't know.
Cephalofair. I'm going to start calling them Cephalofair games. I'm going to do it. But yeah, we played 2 missions today. We were going to do a third, but our father-in-law had to go.
Yeah, he ended up having to retire his guy and took a bit more downtime as well.
I was a little sad because I wanted to play again. But we played that. I also played a couple of solitaire games, and I think you played this.
Yeah, so I'm playing a couple games of Unconditional Surrender on Board Game Arena. The implementation's, generally speaking, very good, especially for how big and complex this game is.
And you're playing this with who? Rick Mans?
I'm playing one of them with Rick, yes, and
That's he's from Southern Indiana, right? Did you know that?
Yeah, that one's about to wrap up in an Axis victory, but that's the scenario that we're playing.
Is it Poland?
It's 1940.
Okay,
so
it's France.
It's Poland. You do Poland, then you do
France.
you do Denmark and Norway, then you do France.
Yeah.
And so there's no chance for the Allied player to really do any of that.
Very hard.
Yes, but it was kind of a learning thing. Hey, we walked through like a full year of the game. It's kind of the shortest year there is.
This game, really, to be honest, gets really good in like turn 6 or 8, right? You're going into 1941. Once you've gotten past like France and Poland, it starts to get really good.
I think 41 and 42 is where the game gets
Shines.
real interesting from a combat standpoint, because you're now like launching Barbarossa, and there's a ton of stuff to do there.
North Africa,
fighting the Desert War.
Yep.
The flip side of that is once you launch Barbarossa, you lose the political aspect of the game. That drops off, which that's a bummer, because that's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Pretty fun.
And I love all of that. So I'd like all the 1939, 1940, because you get the pre-game that allows you to change the face of Europe and then fight the war at this random sandboxy moment. And I think that's an interesting part of it. But yeah, and then I'm also playing with Tom, this gentleman from England, and we are playing the same scenario, but I'm playing as the allies in that one. So I'm like guiding him through like, hey, do this or do that, and like, here's some tactical advice. You're committing too many resources to Norway. he's got 2 Luftwaffe squadrons.
Oh, that's too much.
Up in Denmark, ready to. I'm like, dude, you need 1.
Yeah.
Just send the other to France. He'll have time to move and be like,
because you got to get France over so you can move over to the east.
Well,
and you need every Luftwaffe squadron.
And we won't
over
get
there.
that far. The scenario ends at the end of 40,
okay, sure.
but like he's sending them all to Norway, and I'm like, you need them for France. You don't gotta worry about that. Don't worry, it doesn't take much. Yes, doing that.
Great game, by the way.
I just
fantastic.
love it. And then I'm playing Memoir 44 with my brother. We have ongoing game of that's rolling. That's really fun. Still enjoying that. And then
Time of Crisis, Andean Abyss on Rally the Troops.
Yes.
I've played a Wilderness War this month. A couple of votes for women this month. I will say this: that game of Time of Crisis, where we all 4 of us were Emperor for 2 turns, and the game ended. I thought that was so fantastic. Like I
still got absolutely rocked in that game.
Oh, I was like, that is
so
so amazing how that worked out. Anyway, had a blast with that.
And we're also doing, so something I'm enjoying is we're doing the beta version of the deluxe, or the beta version
Some
of the
those
deluxe
new
stuff.
buildings are too good.
Yeah.
That one where you can trade like a red for a blue point. What's that one called? It's got the cornucopia on
The
it.
market.
That thing is way too good. I'm going to be honest with you. I abused the hell out of that one.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Because you always have 1 point of something left over, right?
Yes.
Always. If you can turn that into another army or what, I mean, it's just, some of those buildings that port's really good. What's the other one? I'm not sure. What does the monument do? I haven't built that one.
I haven't
yet.
built it, so I don't know.
Okay.
And
I was looking at it, but I decided, I want to go back to the cornucopia, the market.
Yeah.
But great game. That is a great game.
Also, I was called out on Rally the Troops by Jay. He's a gentleman from England that I play Wilderness War.
Were you cheating?
No.
Oh.
He just wanted a shout out. I shouted out Cullen and the group that I play PAX Premier with, and he was like, "Where's my shout out?" So Jay, I play Wilderness War with him. He kicks my ass every time. He's extremely good at it, and he's currently in the process of beating me again.
Have I been beaten by him yet?
Yes.
I probably have. You destroyed me.
He's
one
a
time.
gentleman that you played about halfway through a game and you resigned, and then you never played with him again.
Well, because I made some bad mistakes.
But that was
I forgot the attrition rule, and I'm like, oh, that's not good.
happens to us
I've
all
not
in those
played
first
through
few
him
years.
again?
Not with him specifically.
Okay.
But
I don't mind losing. I lose
No.
more on that than I win.
He's a great opponent. We have a good laugh
I'll have to
on
play
there.
with him
And,
again.
he's an
Invite me.
absolute
I'll get
shark.
destroyed by it. I don't have a problem.
But he reached out to me. I met him through LinkedIn.
Okay, that's hilarious.
He contacted me on there. Was like,
That
"Hey,
is funny.
I'm a fan. Do you want to play Wilderness War?" I'm like,
That's hilarious.
absolutely.
But Rally the Troops is amazing. I also played a couple of solitaire games. Now, I just have the rules here, because this is a print and play game. So you can see I printed off the rules.
And what's it called?
It's called Operation Biting. So this is the Bruneval raid, kind of on the northern shore of France, like in 1942. They went in to try to steal some radar from Hitler. There were some breakthroughs, and they wanted...
They just want some radar
Yeah, they sent the first airborne in. So it's a little bit of a tactical game, but it's really fun. It's by Matt White, and you can see great art. Matt draws all this stuff.
He does it all himself?
Yep.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, so I didn't bring anything else, but I have played this 3 or 4 times, and it just plays in 45 minutes. Pretty fun. Very much enjoyed that. And then this is one I've started playing this month and a little bit of the previous. This is called Rome, Fate of an Empire, from a very cool company, Best with One, and they do this solo game of the month. They do a Game Found campaign almost every month. This was one, this was $25. And you can see it's a VHS cassette. The stuff's at home, it's set up. So
Oh, okay. So
this is just some of the cards.
Okay.
These are like different cards you can play.
But it has like a bag of wooden cubes and
Yep,
stuff.
it has cubes and different things. But it's really fun. It's way more of a Euro than it is a war game.
Yeah, lots of tracks. And
Yep,
looks like
so be aware of that, but I'm very much enjoying this. This is the same designer that did Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs.
Which is a very fun
What's his
implementation, a little micro solitaire version of Gloomhaven.
Graphic design. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Joe Cliffel.
It's German.
Okay.
At least that's how
That's how you would say
because
it.
that's a German name.
But very cool game, and once again, $25. I'm very
Almost can't go wrong with that.
glad that I played that. So those are some of the games that I played this month solo.
So November was a pretty big month, honestly.
It was.
Like,
We
ended
played
up
a
doing
lot.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So let's look at December.
Yep. What are we
we're
going to
gonna
try
do.
to play? Well, next weekend. This represents next. No, that's 2 weekends from now. We can talk about that.
But next weekend. Oh, good gracious.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay.
So
we have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we do.
in
So
December. It's
next
gonna be kinda
weekend,
nuts.
we have arranged for Kevin Bertram from Fort Circle Games to fly into Indianapolis on a Saturday morning. We're picking him up. We're going to play at my house. We are going to play 3 games in about 9 hours and try to squeeze lunch in there as well. We are going to play their new game that's on Kickstarter, first Monday in October, by Talia Rosen. It is a Supreme Court game. Looks very fun.
And is it about making decisions, or is it about getting elected to the court? Or appointed, sorry.
It is about making decisions, and you're competing with each other.
Okay.
Looks very cool.
Is it a 2-player game?
It is actually up to 4, I believe.
Okay.
But
Do you play as a justice and you're trying to get prestige? I guess
Yes,
I don't.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're trying to take cases and win them, and not win them, but rule on them and do different things.
Right.
I don't know everything about it,
Sure.
but we're going to play that because it's currently on Kickstarter. Kevin wants us to do a video, and we're going to play it and then shoot a video. We're also going to play Shakespeare's Folio with him. I think that's like a 40-minute game.
Shakespeare's First Folio.
Yeah, first folio. Then we're going to play The Halls of Montezuma, which is a game that had a successful Kickstarter about 18 months ago, and it's getting ready to fulfill. So then I'm going to drive him back to the airport, dump him off. He's
We're
gonna
doing all
fly
that in one day.
All in one day. It's going to be crazy, but I'm looking forward to that.
So that's like on Saturday.
Next Saturday. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then the week after
2 weeks
that,
from today.
a friend of the show, Bill Simone, is coming down. He lives in Ohio. He's driving down to teach us Next War Poland.
Very excited.
And Mike's actually driving up from St. Louis as well. Yep. So we're going to kind of 4-player sit down and do Next War Poland, which I actually was really excited when you said this, because Poland is the one that I was the most ever interested in this series.
Okay.
This one in India, Pakistan.
So he is going to take us through the full tournament scenario. I'm not sure exactly what that entails. He feels with the teach, it can be done in about 6 to 7 hours.
Okay.
So we're going to play 3 or 4 hours on a Friday. We're going to come back on Saturday morning, finish it up. And I'm very much looking forward to that, because then we've got games like Next War Iran that just came out from GMT that we can play. I've got Next War Vietnam. I've got India, Pakistan. I've got
Taiwan. Which I had tried to play around with I think I've got Korea somewhere as
Okay.
well.
So we've got a lot
I
of
think
them. We just haven't played them.
But yeah, and we haven't played them because it's a big rule set, it's a big time commitment, and we just haven't got to it
Is
yet.
this just one board?
I think it's 2, but
Map.
there's one big map and one massive strategic display. And there's a map extension. There's an extension here. But I don't know if every scenario uses them.
Sure.
But yeah,
very much so.
It's a big system. We just haven't got to it. So having someone come in who knows the system, has played it,
well,
and
actually,
teach us.
Mike knows it as well.
Mike knows it really well. So that will be extremely helpful for us to kind of pick this up and finally get to what is a pretty well-established series at this point.
And Bill said the tournament scenario covers it all. So you're going to get everything.
Okay, good.
Which is good, because we'll learn all the aspects.
But yeah, when this one was announced and came out a few years ago, I think it was like 20...
Yeah, this is like
21
probably 5,
or
6 years
22?
ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Because this is the second edition.
Right there, 2022 was second
That's
edition.
but the first edition came out in 2017, I believe.
Isn't there a code on the?
Yeah, I think
2017 right there.
Which was
No,
like
2022 is.
that was this printing though.
Yeah, yes, but 2017 might have been the first
the
one.
original one.
Okay.
But because this is the second edition. I'm really excited. This was the one I was kind of most excited for out of these because of the theme, because I was like, I'm European, this is more interesting. So I'm really excited to get to this and play this. And then hopefully on that Saturday, what we're planning to do is to sit down and play the new coin game, which is volume 12, I think?
Yep, volume 12.
Red Dust Rebellion. We'll have 4 players. Hey, let's do this. Apparently this is incredible.
Yeah.
I've
heard a lot
only
of
ever heard
about
good
it.
things about it, and the kind of, again, the changes and additions that they've made are like 10 out of 10. People love it.
Well, and this is a setting, obviously, in a sci-fi setting, but it's in a made-up setting. So it's kind of their first jaunt into non-historical.
Yeah, and like removing the shackles, and so they can do some
anything.
like fun things without being like, hey, that's kind of stupid because they never would have done that.
Yep.
Cool. You don't have those constraints.
Yep. Looking forward to this.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm looking forward to this immensely.
Yep. I think that's all. Nope,
No.
that's not it. We've got a whole.
Not even a little.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So,
Where the hell is the rest of the stuff?
I put them down here.
Okay.
Okay. Because
We're hitting some hex encounters.
those are kind of 2 big Saturdays and half a Friday. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get to some of these big hex encounter games that we got going on in the rest of December. And between like all the time off in the holidays, I'm feeling really good about this.
Yeah.
So we have Battles of Napoleon, Eylau 1807 from Sound of Drums. Now, 6 months ago we said we were going to play this, and it just never happened. But we're back here again, and I'm very excited to play this. But also, if you have this, there's a nice Cube for Me tray insert here.
So cool.
And there's a link down below where you can go there, and it's an affiliate
Why
link. So we
is
get
that? That is taller, isn't it?
I got a package with a bunch of them in, and I put the wrong one in.
Okay. That's cards. I think that one's for cards.
That's for sleeved cards.
Sleeved
That's why
cards.
But yeah, they Cube for Me is awesome. Their tray organizers are awesome. But I'm looking forward to this game. Big game from Sound of Drums.
Well, it's beautiful as well.
It looks stunning, and it's freezing cold and snowy outside.
It'll be perfect.
Perfectly thematic at that point as well.
So we are going to get this one played.
Also, I keep forgetting, this video is sponsored by Noble Net Games.
How do we keep forgetting that? That's terrible.
We'll have more from them later. I actually got a nice video.
A new video?
It won't be just like a
The same
10-second sound sting that's really loud. It'll be like a nice actual video
commercial.
that looks good. We're also going to do one of the scenarios from Thunder on the Mississippi from Multiband Publishing. So this is their latest in the GC ACW series. I love this system, and I want to play more of it.
Sure.
This is the new one this year, and it's all kind of, I have to clip it, but it's again organized in a nice Cube for Me trays. How about that? But I'm like very excited to play this because I also very recently read about the Vicksburg campaign in Shelby Foote's Civil War narrative. So it was kind of like, and then this came out, and I'm like, perfect, I just finished this book. So I'm excited for that.
We're not going to play this in December, but we do own Volume 10 in the Blind Sword series.
Yes.
Chickasaw Bayou, which is kind of the prelude.
Indeed, it's called Prelude to Vicksburg,
We
right?
talked about we want to play that as well, but that's going to be probably January.
Yeah, but that's one I want to do kind of before the end of our working year as well. What I'll call it as well.
Working. And then one more, we got a big one.
And one more another big one.
In the category of big-ass war game.
Yeah, this one's called The Enemy is at the Gates. And this is the Battle for Berlin 1985 from Compass Games. This is part
Company
of their
scale system.
company scale system, which is incredible. We've played that system before.
In Saipan.
It's very big, it's very rich. It's designed by Adam, well, the system's by Adam Starkweather. This one's by, oh no, this one is also by Adam Starkweather. He did the game as well. But I'm extremely excited to play this because this is 1985 Cold War gone hot, but it is literally Berlin.
Yeah.
So like, I lived in Berlin for like 6 months when I was like 19, and like where I lived and the street I lived is on this map. And I've like been to the Doner kebab shop right there, and I've been to the church right there, and I've been to the park right there. And so we're going to play a scenario where I serve my mission, and I'm really excited for
You have
that.
this one clipped?
I'm pretty sure it's all
Most
clipped,
of it, yeah.
if not most of it.
Yeah.
And it is a ton.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm also really interested in this because this is a big old war game, but half the forces in this are like the Polizei and like the Stasi and the
So it's
riot
like
police.
local guys, right?
Yeah, and so they can have different capabilities. They're going to act differently, and they're going to do different things instead of like, you know, there are a few like proper military units and echelons,
Right.
but like this police.
Here you've got like some police cavalry right there, right?
Like, and I
That's
think
fascinating.
I think this is going to be something. I hope that stuff really shines through. That those units are what they are and act the way that they do, because I think that will be so interesting.
Well, we've got to do those 3 games this month. I really want to do those 3 games this month.
I feel pretty good about it. I think we got
this
we
and
definitely got time. I'm going to spend my entire month in rule books this month. 'cause
But
those
like
are
you
big.
said, I know Christmas is on a Tuesday, Wednesday this year. Christmas Eve's Tuesday.
we'll have. But like,
But
it's
I'm taking
Christmas.
off Thursday,
Yeah, like,
Friday. We'll have the weekend. Yeah,
I'll have like the whole week in between that and New Year's as well.
we should be able to. We
I
might even
feel-
be able to get more in.
Potentially, or it'll be
Yeah.
like we do, you know, we do end up playing like for 2 days and like do a
Right.
something. But like, yeah, there's
And get back to Purple Haze.
yeah, right.
So-
There's a lot of stuff to look forward to this month. I know that sounds very ambitious, but most of it we already have like on the books, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to December as well.
I'm also going to play Operation Bullet Bank, and I think we both talked about this, that you would like to play this as well.
Yes.
This is from Snafu Designs. This is I think it's volume 5 in their Pocket Battle series. Small Battle series number 6. So this is literally the relief of Tango 2 Bosnia and Herzegovina, April 29th of 1994. So solitaire game, looks really fun.
Yeah, and like
By Nicola Sagini.
the war in Bosnia and Kosovo is like, I watched this on TV when I was like 8. Like, this is all stuff that I remember, and like a lot of my friends' dads and uncles
Fought in it,
were,
were involved in the military.
served, or like and like it was in the zeitgeist when I was a kid.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to try that this month, as well as playing the couple of games that I already am playing.
Yes. So
Is that everything?
I think that's everything for December,
Okay.
within reason.
Well, it's going to be a month.
I think so
Going
too.
to be a month.
I am very excited for this month of gaming as well.
You want to do Kickstarters now?
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple of Kickstarters of what we got going on. Speaking
Sorry.
of which, I had Thunder Road Vendetta
Show
Carnival
up.
of Chaos delivered. Not a war game, but
It looks
still
awesome.
looks awesome, and I'm really excited for
It does look really awesome. Okay, so I think I've got 5 or 6 to share this month. So Modal's Counterattack, the Battle of Radzimin and Bagration's End from Dissimula Edizioni. It actually started today on the 29th.
Okay, so you can go and click on it right now.
Yep. They do a great job. Their maps are gorgeous. Their production is fantastic. And we've played several of their games and really had a great time with them. The next one that I've got, sorry, it's right here. You remember that game Entrenched? That's
Yes.
sitting right over there?
I do.
So they are redesigning that game.
Oh, good.
And they're calling it Entrenched Gallia Guards.
Sure.
It's the same system, just, I think, massaged. From Daedalus Creations, but this is a very affordable card-based war game. If the rules were better, I think there was something there, but we never got past the rules.
Yeah, we tried to play it. It's a card
In the
game, like a
airport.
little card box.
Tried to play
and
in
the
the
rules
airport.
leaflet is just... It's
Isn't
a French
really a leaflet,
translation.
it's more of a...
And like there was a section where it says, go to the website to read some of these rules,
Yeah,
which
we
was
were like-
it's just criminal.
Yeah.
But it just, the rules were both not translated well, but also I don't think were written favorably anyway in the first place. So it was like, huh, what are we doing?
But that one's on Kickstarter. The other one is World Order from Hegemonic Project Games. So if you remember Hegemony, this is the same company, but they now have World Order. So it is a modern day competition between basically the four: European Union, China, Russia, United States.
Because the hegemony is like economic politics.
Yes.
This is like global politics,
military,
like
yes.
geopolitics.
Yep, geopolitics. Another one from Nuts Publishing is their Euro Wargames, which is an assimilation of about 20 articles.
Oh, it's like a book?
It's a book.
Nice.
You can see some of the 17 articles, 332 pages. So it looks really good. Maurice Suckling, Volker Runke wrote an article. Trying to think some of the other names there. Brian Train.
And everyone else looks like they're Europeans.
Yeah. Riccardo Massini, who's Italian. But that's out as well. All of these have funded. I know they're ongoing. First Monday in October, we already talked about that from Fort Circle Games. And that's it. So those are the Kickstarters that I'm aware of at this time.
Awesome. So before
sticking
we
to it.
dive into the topic, well, let's have an official word from our sponsor, Noble Knight Games.
Here at Noble Knight Games, we've been carefully growing the world's largest selection of board games, role-playing games and dice, war games, miniatures and paints, card games, and more. Going on 25 years now. Our rustic castle contains more game and hobby goodness than you can shake a stick at. Complete with careful packaging and the finest customer service the land can provide. You can buy, sell, trade from anywhere in the world, just like nature intended. Noble Knight Games.
Wow, what a cool and lively video. That's much better than what we've been
is.
putting in here. You're welcome.
My favorite part is the knight picking the games off the tree. Just fantastic. Like
Yeah.
they're growing the games. It's so cool.
Yes, so I know I moaned about it. That was my own fault because like the list of assets that I had wasn't very big, but they graciously provided us
They
with
did.
one. And I was watching and I was like, they got all these cool ads, but like I didn't have access to them.
Yeah, and they sent them
So
graciously.
they did. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Noble Knight are such good people.
Yeah.
They're a great service, but everyone who works there has been really kind and generous to us as well, and like help us out at a pinch like that.
And while we're talking about Noble Knight, you will see before this video releases, we did a kind of a Christmas buyer's guide
Yes.
with probably 20 games that we highlighted. Most of those we had codes from the publishers. If those sell out and you can't get those for those codes, Noble Knight would be who I would definitely say you need to check out. They're going to have almost all those games. So keep that in mind
Yes.
for your holiday needs.
Yeah, Noble Knight is also a place where if you have a bunch of games that you know you're not going to play and you need to do a purge, put them in the back of your car, make the drive, and drop them off, and
They'll
they will
give
cut
you
you a
money.
check, or they'll give you store credit so that you can
Buy
buy a
more
bunch more
games.
games that you
Yep.
won't play and then
Play,
sell back
yep.
to them in a few years' time too.
Yep.
That's kind of where I'm at.
It's the war game circle of life.
Because we're like, I'm running out of space again.
Yeah,
I've
we
got
were talking
stacks of
about-
games. I'm like, okay, it's time to consider doing that again.
Time to purge.
But yes, very appreciative to them for sponsoring this show
Yep.
and for their continued support of the Players Aid. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the topic today. And
Yeah.
the topic today, because of the holidays, is one that we've kind of chosen and wanted to talk about. And we're going to talk today about tactical games and tactical war games and everything that entails. Because when you say tactical games, first off, what does that really mean? And so what we're going to talk
And
about
if you ask
here-
5 different people,
Yes.
you'll get 5 different answers.
So I think what
So don't take our word as the gospel.
and what we might like make a little working definition here, and some of the things we're talking about, we're going to break those.
Yeah.
But so a tactical game to me has a few kind of
requirements to be considered a
usually the scale is such where a tactical game you are playing a singular engagement.
Yep.
That's to start with.
Not spread out across a broad front or a huge theater. This
Yeah.
is a little battle typically in one section of the line.
Yes,
Right.
and usually your fighting pieces will represent a man, a couple of men, or at most a squad.
A squad, yeah.
Anything larger than that, when you start getting into platoon level stuff or company level stuff, some of those can be tactical in nature.
But they're more.
But it's a company level game, right? It's you start getting into other things there. To me, the other part of it is you will invariably have very, very detailed terrain considerations. Or, well, most of the time, that is a feature of them as well.
Yes.
And not just like, hey, I'm marching over the mountains. I get a +3 to my movement. What we're talking about here is
You get +3 to movement over mountains?
oh, the movement cost is +3
okay,
to
all
move
right,
over.
all right.
But like, it's like, hey, I'm behind a wall shooting across, an orchard
hedgerow.
into a building.
Yeah.
Okay. There's smoke drifting across the battlefield.
Yeah.
Though that's the kind of concerns that you are going to happen a lot of.
And typically
what we're
all
gonna
of
see.
those things will have some type of effect, either a DRM or a column shift
Yeah.
or
it blocks line of sight entirely.
or a dice upgrade or downgrade. So there's all different types of things like that. I would also say tactical games typically have a lot of choice in maneuver, right? Or
Invariably,
or
yes.
tactics that you have.
Because they're usually more, because you don't have as many pieces, it's not like a line of battle. You have more freedom typically in a lot of
So
those
you
games.
can kind of move around the board. You can do things like pop smoke to obscure you as you run around, or you can, I'm trying to think of other things that...
Yeah, this sounds very modern, but
Yeah.
we're also going to talk about a couple of things today that
Aren't
modern. Maybe not as many, but you think about a tactical game in like ancient times, well, they were almost all fought line of battle style.
Yeah.
But the different weapons matrices of like, this guy uses this weapon when he's going up against this one, that level of minutia. And
little bit more
and you
tactical.
add in some terrain. Hey, my horse is charging. Some of those give you a tactical feel to them as well, and so they might
Yeah.
look different. Some of those are going to pop up on this list as well.
Well, and
things like that.
I also, I mentioned the tactics and the maneuver and things like smoke, but range is also a big consideration.
Usually, yes.
Typically, your men have I can fire 2 spaces, or if I fire 3, it's long range, and I get a negative modifier. Those, to me, are tactical.
Agreed.
You don't get that in an operational game. You're always fighting right up against each other. Also, close combat, hand-to-hand combat, those are all things that show up in tactical
Invariably,
games.
yes.
In an operational or a strategic game, you've got lines of unison, they're just running into each other. But that's one of our favorite things about tactical is the hand-to-hand combat, close assault,
Yeah,
close
you
combat.
get into the real nitty-gritty
Yeah.
of, hey, my guys are fighting your guys in a barn.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Very bloody, very, just very interesting, chaotic. So those are kind of some of the highlights or hallmarks.
And they're not
of
necessarily,
tactical systems.
they're hallmarks, not necessarily requirements. Because
Right.
again, some of the things we're going to talk about might feel tactical.
Yeah.
And there's no real
that's-
working definition for that. It's just once you've played a bunch of these, you know that it's like, hey, this
Yeah.
kind of is fitting into this, or it's giving. I have to think about it the same way as I would
Yeah.
like something like Combat Commander, which is where we're going to start today. I'm going to reach over.
Let's get it going. Let's get it on. Boy, my boxes. Look at those rubber bands.
You need one of those Cube for Me boxes in there.
I do. I've got too many. Why is this so...
Because
Anyway,
you have all the expansions in there,
I
right?
do. I have several of the battle packs, which is crazy.
Yeah, rubber bands from the old
Yeah, I
days.
know. These were when we were really new.
So this is Combat Commander from GMT Games.
Sorry,
and we're going to talk about this one
Gotcha.
first because this is the first one that we played, honestly.
Well, and it also, it honestly is one that I compare to almost every tactical system that we play. Most people, I'm not going to say most people, lots of people don't like this. They feel this system is...
I think a lot of people do like it.
Oh, no, I get it. But I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't like Combat Commander, blah, 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 blah.
Would I say, I think you either love it or you hate it.
I would agree. That's
Hate's a
what I'm
strong
trying
word.
to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is a card-driven game in a way.
It is.
Right? You have a hand of cards, and you're playing the cards to do the action on the cards, and the action will be like to move.
So
or
to
fight.
move your guys or to shoot your guys, you need a fire card or a move card. And if you can't draw those, you can't do those things. So that's what a lot of people don't like. They feel like they lose their agency and their ability to command. I would argue that it replicates some of the difficulties on the battlefield.
To me, that's always a mixture of things like fog of war, command confusion,
exhaustion,
and generally not not doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, and I've heard complaints where it's like, oh, you always should be able to shoot because you always just put your bullets down range, even if you're not doing anything. And it's like, yes, but if you don't have the cards to do it, all that does is tells you that your fire down range is ineffective. That's all. You're doing it. It's just not impacting the battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is...
So some of that has been abstracted or boiled. Yeah, it's just, people, you have to think differently. With each of, I think that's one of the keys, right?
Yes.
With each of these tactical systems, if you go into them comparing them only to one system or that way, they're all different.
And you're allowed to have your favorites.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But
they're all different and unique and interesting.
Something that that comes up is that because of the volume of different titles that we play is such that whilst we have our favorites, I have a very spongy brain because we have to constantly change it.
Yeah.
And so as such, I'm able to see the good in a lot of things without getting stuck of like, I don't get wrapped around the axle of like, oh, I love this so much and everything sucks in comparison. Cool.
Yeah.
We just play so many games that it's like, okay, I love this about this. I love this about this. That's what stuck out to me about this. And yeah, they're different. Half the time I'm like, I don't know if I care that one's better than the other.
Yeah.
I might like one more, but they're just different.
They're just different.
But this one's one that we started with. We've played this probably more than most of the others on
I
this
feel
table
like
that
we've
you're
played
gonna
this
talk about.
almost 30 times.
Yeah, and it was wonderful every time. Even getting absolutely spanked in some of them.
Sure.
That's the narrative, right? That's the fun experience that you had with it, and that is part of it. Really, really, really good.
The other thing I want to say about Combat Commander is the way the cards work, and I'm not just talking about you need a fire card to fire. The cards are used for the dice.
Well, there's no dice.
But there are dice symbols on them, and that's your hit roll. What genius. I just think it's genius.
That was the first game we played that had that, and it was extremely novel, and I still really like it.
Innovation that's so cool. That also is used to determine the location of random events or random hexes. Or I remember, because we were so new, like, wow, that's amazing. This is so cool.
Chad is not a not smart guy, right? He's brilliant.
Well, I also think he's willing to try some different things, and I think that's why he did. Anyway, I wanted to point that out because I'm not sure a lot of people understand that about the system. There's so much more than just, oh, I've got the cards and I got to do this. The cards do everything. The cards have events on them, and they're so good. I
love a closed card system for dice. I really do. I think playing within that space is such an interesting challenge, and the Combat Commander was what showed that to me and what engendered that love of that mechanic for me.
So very good. The other thing I want to say about Combat Commander is they have, this is Europe. Not shown in the middle is Med, which we've played several scenarios.
Which is good.
Here's Pacific, we've played several scenarios. But then there's like 10 different battle packs. You get like the Airborne Battle Pack, and you get the Stalingrad Battle Pack, and you get the Operation Sea Lion Battle Pack. If there's something you're interested in, there's a battle pack for it. And by the way, they're coming out with new battle packs. The island hopping one was kind of the one most recently announced. I'm very much looking forward to that.
There's so much to like in Combat Commander.
I could talk about Combat Commander all day long, but it is awesome. Yeah. I love it. I very much enjoy playing Combat Commander. And we'll play it at any time.
Yes, agreed.
Let's do this one.
Sure.
No?
Well, it's just buried over here.
Okay, well, go ahead.
They're all buried. Okay, real quick.
We've not played this one yet.
We're just going to mention this
I have mine clipped, and I've actually looked at the rules.
Okay. It's funny. I had an old. This is the Band of Brothers system from Worthington, and this is still sealed, and I have not played it, and that's very shameful. They redid the whole line a few years ago, and it looks awesome, and I've heard really good things about it. Specifically, I've heard that the vehicles in this are good.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of tactical games, sometimes the vehicles are kind of a bit wonky and kind of break it a little bit, or like it's like bolted on. But apparently they integrate really well and they feel realistic and they fit with the power level of things like that. So I am looking forward to this, but this is one we haven't played. So before you ask, that's why this is here.
Well, and the other thing that's cool about, I've read a little bit of the rules, there's just a lot of ancillary things that are included, like you'll see a bulldozer counter there.
Yeah.
Well, those can be attacked and neutralized so that you can't repair an airfield, which is one of the scenarios. So there's just a lot of variety in that, and I really want to play that series.
Yes.
Go ahead and grab ASL.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I should have brought my Pacific one, which I've done nothing with, but I should have brought it.
So this is the ASL Starter Kit Volume 1. There is a video of this on our channel. I played this with Ed. He lives locally and he's played a lot of ASL. He taught me, so that was really, again, really grateful that someone else taught me a rule set that is, even this,
little dense,
is still quite dense. There's just a lot to it. I know people like this is their game, right? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is ASL Starter Kit is its own series, and then ASL is its whole other thing.
And there's
some people just sit here.
Yep.
Some people do use it as a springboard to get in. The system has been around for a long time. It's really well loved by those that love it. It is a lifestyle game. There is a lot to it, and people who play this will often play only this, or like one other thing. I enjoyed it well enough. It was fine. It wasn't for me.
Got it.
And that's all. Like, I can see why someone would like this because of the challenges that come up and the things that it does. But it just didn't grab me in a way that a lot of the other systems that we've got here did.
Did it not grab you in the way because it is so focused on the minutia?
It felt, you know what, this is so funny. It felt like it was very mechanical.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's so many steps and processes that you kind of get caught up in that rather than the other side of it, maybe.
You're playing the system,
yeah,
rather than playing it. I don't know. It doesn't feel very gamey. Mm-hmm. Like I'm playing a game to have fun, and I wasn't having
fun.
Okay. I was having fun with Ed, and we were but like Combat Commander, it's a riot.
Yeah.
Like when we play it,
it's
unexpected
fun.
things happen, and it's fun, and crazy things happen, and it's a really cool story. This was like, I move my guys, I shoot my guys, you shoot your guys, I shoot my guys, you shoot your guys, I shoot my guys. Okay, that's the end of the shooting phase. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much to remember. It's a lot of overhead, a lot of rules. It was okay.
Isn't everything six-sider, but you need to roll ones?
It's
low.
It's 2d6 rolling low. I think low is good on this one, which is fine. I don't mind that. It was okay. It was alright.
Okay. I bought Pacific Starter Kit, and I want to do it exactly what you did, and at least get into it and play it one time.
Yes, and I would definitely do that with you.
I'll clip it. I'll get it ready one time. We'll play it someday.
But yeah, people are gonna be like, oh, ASL. I finally played some of it, and now I can say that I played it.
Got it. Well, see, and I want to play it because I want to say that I could play it.
Yeah.
And who knows? I may get into it and really do enjoy it. I will say this. One of the other series we're going to talk about, the Lock and Load Tactical, I think doesn't it share some DNA with that regarding the way some of the mechanics work? Because I feel like in this, you've got a spot, and then you got to bring sight on people, and then you got to fire.
They're very different.
Okay.
But
has some similarities.
But Lock and Load Tactical is not uncomplex.
Okay.
But
maybe it's totally different.
It just
but
works better.
Anyway, okay, ASL.
Yeah, so that's
people
ASL.
will live and die by
fine.
that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It might appeal to you. Give it a shot.
Okay, so let's talk about Lock and Load Tactical. Whilst we've got it right here, we're talking about it because I really, really, really enjoyed Lock and Load Tactical. Indeed, let me grab real quick the
Falklands or the.
This is
sorry.
Okay, Lock and Load Tactical. In this day and age, what you're going to do is you're going to buy the box for the pieces and the maps, and then you're going to get the core rules, which are going to teach you how to play it. This box has a set of rules in it, but the rules are like version 2 or something like that. And we're on version at least 5.1. And this big old binder, which might remind you of ASL, it's not binder, it's ring bound, is extremely good. This might look very daunting. This is 280 pages. I know that's a lot of rules, but this is a really large typeface, and so much of this is examples and diagrams. Like the blue text and the red text is all examples or like designer explanations. So the amount of actual rules on each page isn't that bad. And again, you're going to play one of these and you're going to play the smaller scenarios first, where it's just some infantry with a machine gun. And then the later ones will like add in a mortar, add in a tank. And so again, even in a box like this, it will build on itself, and then you'll take that assumed knowledge into the next box. I've played Falklands. I really like Falklands. I've never had, this is my only tactical game on the Falklands, I think, that I've ever played. And it was just, that conflict interests me, and I hadn't seen a tactical box on it, so it's just really cool. You and I played Pacific together.
Well, and I thought we also played Normandy together.
We did also do Normandy together as well.
I don't think we've ever done anything else together.
No, it was those three.
Okay. I have the Soviet one, Heroes of the Motherland, but I tried it solo with the solo system. It was all right.
The solo system,
I didn't love the solo system.
Is quite involved.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot to it.
And I also felt like I was ultimately then just making decisions.
Half the time it comes down to do the best thing.
Just do what you could, But I very much enjoyed Heroes of the Pacific. I had a great time with this one.
But this is a very crunchy system.
Yep.
This is not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
But it is very good.
Yeah.
It has, like you said, you have to spot an enemy before you can even attack them. So you're rolling against these perception checks, getting bonuses from your leader, or having adjacent guys,
and then getting negatives from terrain and different things like that.
And then you're going to shoot them. So you're going to get your leaders together, make fire teams, open fire on them. What kind of fire are you doing? Is it a hard target? Is it a soft target? All this kind of stuff you're getting into it in a great tactical game. This is one where you have a lot more control over it than something like Combat Commander, where you are at the mercy of your cards in that. This is much more of a kind of
you just move the guys you want to move when they can.
Game where it's like, move my guys, try to spot. That's where you lose control. It's like, I don't see anyone.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really good system. It's also been around for a long time.
Yep.
And they keep working on the rules and developing them and making it bigger.
The other thing I would say about this system, because we've also played their Nations at War system.
Yes.
It's like a company scale.
Yeah, that's a step up scale wise.
But it feels that also felt very, very tactical.
Yeah, so we
played White Star Rising.
Yes.
I think that was the one we played. I very much enjoyed that system.
I really liked that too, yeah.
I liked this better than that, but I still did enjoy White Star Rising.
That Nations at War series, which is also what they put into World at War, it's a very similar system.
Yeah.
At least the core of it is. That's a chip pull system as well.
Right.
So that's great for solo. It's a slightly different scale, but what we talked about earlier, some of the stuff you do feels very tactical, especially with things like the terrain, because each of your units is a platoon and you play within companies. Some of it feels very tactical still, even at that upper level. But yeah, these are, here's my guy, he has a machine gun on top of him, that's what he's shooting. And these are this is a big system, it's an involved system.
It's a good system.
Really, really good. Very solid system, that's for sure.
And they have like 15 different box sets.
Oh, good gracious, yes. And they're still doing them. They did Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, I think.
Yep, right over there, the East Front German, Russian.
And that came out just last year. So they're still making new boxes of these with all fresh new stuff in it too.
They do well.
So now we'll do the Conflict of Heroes.
I like Conflict of Heroes.
So this Conflict of Heroes from Academy Games. So we have Storms of Steel 3rd edition, which is the most recent offering. And then Guadalcanal, which is Pacific. I think, was this the first one we ever played?
We played this one first,
Guadalcanal.
Because remember, this took forever to come out.
Yes.
When it came out, we were so excited to play it because of the changes, and it was just so very good.
Yes.
The tanks were really good too. I mean, this one has a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, this is like vehicles. And they also have Awakening the Bear, which is Barbarossa. So it's like early War Rush.
I think we've played that one.
We did. We played it once.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, because I bought an older copy of it.
Okay, but I really enjoyed the Guadalcanal one too.
Yeah, so this is from Academy Games. These are like really nice. You get geomorphic maps in it. The pieces are really big on very thick counters. But I would say it's slightly less complex than
Lock and load.
Lock and load tactical. Yeah, which is very. This is you don't have to do any of the spotting, but it's moving and shooting guys.
Yep.
But you have different colors for the different types of fire and the types of soft or hard targets that you're doing. Things similar to that. This one has facing though.
Yes.
All of your tanks and your gun emplacements have facing, which is really important. Even some of your infantry units do. They have a front side and a rear side. So those are considerations you have to do. Whereas in something like Combat Commander, you guys can shoot out of any hex. No one really cares.
Yeah.
Originally, the system used. It had like an activation system where you would spend
command points.
Each action type cost a certain value. And then in Storms of Steel 3rd edition, they put a dice roll in there.
Yeah.
So it was possible, not necessarily likely, but it was possible that you could get like a couple additional activations within things. And that was something that Academy Games picked up from when they brought this into Quantico. So they like went into like official government training areas, showed Storms of Steel, and they were like, cool, this is too predictable from that standpoint. And so they put a die roll into the activation system. It almost ends up the same as this, but there's chances, and it will happen once or twice a game, where you can get 2-3 different things going, or you might get none.
Yeah.
You get like one thing and then it's done with. That just added that little extra unknown to it that I think really zhuzhed up the activation system, just put a bit more of tension in there, a bit more jeopardy in there, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And the best part of this is the damage system, right?
Well, the damage draw system is just so very good because it's random, right? You've got to pull the chits, you reach in once you've been hit, and you're going to pull that out. Sometime it might say you're prone, right? So you put that on there, and the best part is you keep that from your enemy.
You take a damage token and put it under that unit, and so and the damage counter will say like -1 range, -1 attack, -1 defense,
-1,
or it might be like you're half dead.
Yep.
Or it's like -5 to attack, and like has all these things on there that you don't know. I think some of them are like insta kill.
Yeah, they are.
But you put
there's usually like one that's an insta kill out of like 15 chits.
But you put that under there, like you said. They have no idea what they did to you.
Until you move and attack with it, you have no idea as the enemy
and
what happened.
Love that.
Oh, it's so good.
I feel like that's quite realistic.
Yep.
If I'm shooting a bunch of guys in a building or in the woods, I have no idea how many guys I killed. But in every other game we've talked about so far, you know exactly how much damage you did to them. That's kind of silly in a way.
Yeah.
But this feels so good.
There's a couple mechanics, like I enjoy the cards in Combat Commander. I very much enjoy the chit pull in this one because it throws that unknown and a little bit of when you are fighting small unit engagements, I've never been in the military, so I may not know what the hell I'm talking about. But from everything I've seen, the chaos is what causes difficulty, right? It's the enemy, yes, but it's the weather, the time of day, smoke, exhaustion, fatigue, number of hits, morale. They just really, it's a big part of what tactical games are. And that hidden aspect of these chits, I just think is so very good. I very much enjoy that.
Because I shoot a bunch of guys in the woods. I know I've done a step loss. Let me continue to pour on the fire so I can eliminate them for game purposes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like you have a level of knowledge and you're taking actions that not necessarily would happen in real life.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, you keep shooting and you don't know what you've done to them, so you keep shooting.
Yeah.
Or you're like, cool, I have to risk it and move on to more priority targets. So I'm going to and then it's like, I'm going to attack and damage suppress, attack and damage suppress, attack and damage suppress, and then I'm going to go finish them off. I'm like, does that have merit to it too? This is a really fun system for that
very
in it
much
as well.
so.
And it's a beautiful production as well.
Well, yeah,
really
they're very good looking games and just very well done.
And this is wonderful artwork on it. The impressionist style is just really cool.
And this production level is way better than this, but this is still very good.
Yes.
They have the nice molded trays. Just
Yes.
very, very good. I'm going to put both those.
Whoa.
We're starting to
Run out of space.
Run out of
We have
space
too many
here.
games.
hey, OST? You want to talk
Yeah,
about
let's
OST?
bring those over.
We're
OST,
starting
old school tactical from Flying Pig Games.
They're just-
And we joke that the only thing old school about this is that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah. Sorry, our faces are behind.
Some of the biggest boxes in Wargames, but
Yep.
not the biggest. You might see that later on in this video.
Yeah, some of the biggest. Old school tactical, there's nothing old school about it. In fact, it's decidedly modern, from the way initiative works to the way combat works. This game has the most crunch, aside from ASL, right, in tactical systems, because you look at so many different charts, and whether it's a hard target and a soft target, there's just different.
I think lock and load might be slightly crunchier
It
than this.
might.
I think it's ASL,
It might.
lock and load, and then this. But this is
it's crunchy.
It's within that band of being pretty intense.
But it's just, this system is so very good and so very fun. We have played every single one of them, multiple scenarios. We have not played this one yet. We need to play
We played Pacific, which you don't have.
Yeah, Pacific's at home. I didn't want to bring 4 boxes. But this is the Italian theater.
That's the latest one,
Yep,
right?
this is the latest one. We just got it like 3 months ago. We need to play it. I very much enjoy the hand-to-hand in this one. The close combat is very
brutal.
good because it is very brutal, and you really need to think about whether you're going to get into it, more so than I believe in any other system that we've typically played.
This is also one where I've enjoyed playing with the vehicles when we've played with
Yes.
them as well. And it's one of the few where I felt like, because some of the maps are quite big.
They are.
The boards are huge, but some of the maps you actually, like the sections you play on, like being in a truck and driving your guys and then getting out was actually worth it.
Sure.
Whereas I feel like in half the games we play, it's like,
just put me up
I'm
here.
just dismounting right here and I'm going to walk because it's safer.
Sure.
And I feel that way in like miniatures games do that too, and it's criminal.
Well,
But in this, I actually did it.
Yeah, I think that is also a very important distinction that this is a combined arms game.
Yes.
And there's a lot of tactical games that are not.
There's a reason there's a tank on the front of each one of these.
So these have vehicles and equipment. Combat Commander does not, right?
Yeah, the Combat Commander has like machine guns.
Right, but you don't have a tank and you don't have.
I think there's no vehicles.
Yeah. But combined arms tactical is very different than non-combined arms tactical. I don't know. I just think the production's really high on these. I think the rules are very well written. I very much enjoy the.
Do they still have the giant boards in here?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So you have the big board where you'll play on 1/4 of
That
it.
is-
I don't like that.
That's the only detractor of the game, that you actually have to have
Yeah.
a table that's quite big,
Yeah.
because the boards are beautiful. They're stunning,
We'll show
but they're
you.
absolutely massive. And so if you have like a small little kind of side table that you play your war games on, or this much bigger than 22 by 34.
I mean, I'm not gonna, but you can see there's like 2 folds. This is huge.
It's much bigger than a standard war game board.
And you'll literally play on this quarter. So sometimes you can just open this up and play on, but I would rather have the tiles. But Mark likes this. It does work. It's not like it doesn't work, and the games are fun. I would play old school tactical. In fact, I think old school tactical.
That's just the word of warning. Most of these that we've talked about have small maps or geomorphic maps, and you can just like buy and play the small scenarios. Even the small scenarios, you need kind of a large space to put the actual board in.
Yeah. But OST is a great system. I very much
good.
enjoy it.
Just solid system.
Yep. The other thing I like that Mark does is, so those are like the base games. He also almost always has like a second Kickstarter exclusive version that adds scenarios.
Yeah, like the first one had the Stalingrad board.
Yep.
It was like it was an urban board, totally different, and it had a bunch of scenarios and sets of counters with it.
OST2 had the airborne, and it's just, it just adds that depth and takes it to another level. And the reality is, in that box, there's like 12 playable scenarios. So you get a ton. It's very well done. It's fun. It's interesting. Great production. I've always enjoyed OST. Every time we've played it, I've never not enjoyed it.
Yes, agreed. So next
last
up,
100 yards.
we'll do last 100 yards. This is another tactical system from GMT Games. This particular one is designed by Mike Denson.
A Texan.
Yes, and so this is very different from
Very
GMT's
different.
other system, Combat Commander.
Very different.
So this is a really neat system in what it's trying to do. So a couple of the things that make this really stand out differently from almost everything else we've talked about is the way that the victory conditions are calculated are a function of more than just take this area or kill this many guys.
Right.
There are time constraints, and there's regular victory conditions of taking certain spaces, and
There's losses.
And how you win is a function of all those things tied together, scenario dependent, that makes you consider those things. Whereas in Combat Commander, you got to go take that red star hex. Cool. I'm going to throw everyone at it, and someone's going to get there. I don't care how many people died.
Well, but I will say this. In Combat Commander, typically your victory conditions are number of killed people.
Well,
Like
you can lose on those.
Right.
That's how it is.
If you kill 7 guys, the other guy has to surrender. But it typically is control certain areas and then you gain points. You're right.
Whereas this,
losing is
it's a lose condition.
Yes.
Whereas in this one,
it's part of the victory.
it's part of the win. Yeah, like you have to be much more careful up front. Whereas Combat Commander, it's like throw guys, throw guys, throw guys.
Yeah.
Now I have to be concerned about.
Yes. You're right.
I felt like I was viewing this differently because it's very upfront about it.
Yep.
And then the other thing about this one is that how fire is resolved, which is very interesting, where you're shooting into an area and putting in these little markers, and you're putting those down based on how much fire you can put into a hex, basically. And if you can get more, you can put a better one in there. And then once you've put all those out, then you resolve the effects of them all.
Yeah.
And so instead of like, I shoot you, you half die, then you shoot me back kind of crappily, and this guy shoots that guy, and this guy shoots that guy, and we resolve all those down the line as how it goes, which again is very gamey. Like, that's not how it works in real life. Whereas this one, it's, you're doing that, but you don't resolve anything. So everyone kind of shoots each other, and some of those markers will have effects on how well you can shoot back, but then you do all the resolution so it is kind of simultaneous.
Yeah.
Again, it just changes the way that you look at things and the order in which you're proccing certain units and how you're going about doing that. Yeah. Those were some things that really stood out to me with this, as well as I like the boards in this. I think they look nice, which is a big deal.
Well, and I think the great thing about this system also is this is really the opposite end of the spectrum compared to Combat Commander. It's not as crunchy as ASL, but I think it has a lot more ASL in it.
Yeah, this is
on the deeper end of the pool.
Yeah.
But
and it has all the vehicles. It's got a lot of combined arms in this too.
I like that it's combined arms, and I also like that they've done this is the 4th expansion. They've done, this is like European, then they have Airborne.
Which is European too.
Yeah, then they have Pacific, and then they have the Russian. I really enjoy how they've done that, and now I think the newest one was King and Country, so it's, I want to say it's North Africa, but I'm drawing a blank. The Pacific one,
was it the Solomon Islands?
It was, yeah.
Specifically? Was, which was also cool, where it was not just...
Yeah, it's like kind of specific.
Yeah, which I thought that was neat. Yeah, King and Country. Oh, yeah.
But I do think Mike goes to a great deal of research and granularity with the different combat and the different theaters, and it just works really well. I've never not played this game and had a good time. I wish we could play more of it.
Yeah.
But it is very, very good.
And it uses a set of like different colored D10s for all the stuff in it, which is neat. It's just, I like this system a lot. And if this is the tactical system you chose to play, you could do a lot worse, that's for sure.
Yeah. Very good. Very, very good. What do we want to do now? So many.
Next up, okay, well, I'll save that for later. Let's talk about Warfighter real quick. We could totally change pace. So Warfighter, I have the World War II kind of footlocker down here. I don't want to get off the shelf, it's too big. So we're talking about Vietnam. So this is a totally different type of tactical game.
Yep.
So we've talked, I think, has everything we've talked about been hex and counter so far?
I think so, yeah.
Right? Very traditional, here's my little counter of guys when shooting each other across the board. So Warfighter is a tactical game, totally different though. So this is a very almost pulpy, like, you know, run and gun style game. You feel like you're like in one of those old World War II comics, or Vietnam in this instance.
Like Sergeant Rock.
Yes. And so in this
or
game...
The Nam, which was a magazine comic graphic novel.
So this is a card-based game. You have a board that lays out kind of
and
where
it's
you
kind
put
of like
the stuff.
a side scroller, right? You're moving
Yes.
left to right in columns, trying to approach objectives and deal with
And so,
enemies.
you know, the way it works is you move in a straight line, but each of the locations you move into is a totally unique environment and location, and you move in there, has its different costs to get in.
Yep.
It has all sorts of different keywords. This is a keywords game. And each of those keywords will have stipulations or effects and things like that. And when you move in there, you're going to be confronted with a bunch of guys pop up. And you have to go and, in Vietnam, engage them, go find them, uncover them, and then go and fight them.
Yeah.
And then you move on. And you're trying to move through the game to get to the objective location. And that can be anywhere from like 3 to up to like
6 or 7.
Yeah, you can even get to like 9, which for the long ones, spaces away. And then that objective card will have something you need to do. You either need to kill X amount of guys, or you need to find
Demolish a
something,
bunker.
or you need to survive, like hunker down for X amount of turns once you get there, or do all sorts of things. And there's so much variety they've put into this, which is really fun. But you do that with, I have a soldier, and he has a gun, and a grenade, and a flak vest.
Yep.
And then we have this little squaddy, and he's not as decked out as this guy. He's just got some numbers that represent his capacity to fight. And then you also have a guy, and he has a grenade launcher, and he has, you know, all sorts of other things. And it's this very, very tactical. You get to deck your guys out and build your squad.
Well, you have a certain amount of points called, I think they're called
Resource
points. And it's like you're building your squad. If you really want a great guy, you're going to pay a lot for him, and you're not going to have enough money really, or points to do much
You'll
else.
have really crappy support guys. Or you can have a
couple
few
of good
mid
guys. Yeah.
Or you could have a ton of really crappy guys.
Yeah.
And in this one, because it's a bit more low stakes for me, I feel. And you can play it co-op, which is really good. This is a co-op or a
We
solo
love it
game,
co-op.
right? It's not, you're playing against a deck of cards, so it's not antagonistic in that way. But you're moving through, you know, ooh, we came up against this thing. All right, we desperately got to get it. Shoot all the guns, and you roll the dice, and you hope for the best. And
you don't hit often.
It's this. It creates great narrative moments of like, oh, this was really bad, or oh, this thing happened, or like, oh, we did it. It was amazing. In ways that, you know, these other games are like pretty intense head-to-head games.
Yeah.
and you'll get some of those
one's
moments,
a little
but
lighter.
This is a bit lighter. It's a bit more cooperative. But I have so much fun with this. But yeah, a totally different style of game, that's for sure.
I think the other thing that's very interesting about this game is you have a hand of action cards that you have to take actions to redraw cards. So everything is based on a number of actions your guys can do. But those cards kind of highlight your actions. They maybe make you hit more effectively, or move quicker, or
They might give you a free action.
Yeah, they may give you a snapshot or a. But those cards really drive what you're able to do, and you have to find locations in that action deck. So it's like sometimes you may not draw a location card for a couple of turns, and you desperately need to go to the next to move on, but you have to have a location. And the locations that you draw may not be good, but you've got to play them because you got to get moving.
You're against the clock. Yeah, there's...
But that action card deck is really cool.
And I think what I love about this is that all the mechanical stuff has really great, and most of the time, realistic narrative effects.
Sure.
And everything that you're doing, even though it is just like playing cards and taking actions, has a lot of theme in it if you like thinking about it the right way. I absolutely love Warfighter. I have no problem. Vietnam is an incredible box.
But they have World War II, they have World War II Pacific, Mediterranean, North Africa.
And I'm happy to recommend almost any of the World War II ones as well. I just really like where those sit in the kinds of the power level that you have.
The modern ones we've done, they were okay. I would prefer to play World War II.
I like... The modern ones have some pretty corny pictures in them.
Sure.
That makes it a bit more chintzy. I don't like it as much. And your power level is quite a lot stronger. And as such, the things that you're doing, it's kind of like, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I prefer the World War II and the Vietnam.
Yep,
but I think it's just a matter of taste.
And I'll play Warfighter at any time. They're just that good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Undaunted, if you're okay with that.
Yes, let's talk about Undaunted indeed.
Well, Undaunted is published by Osprey Games, designed by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. It is a tactical level war game that uses deck building.
Yes, this is a deck builder with a tactical game.
Crazy as that sounds, you are literally building a squad of soldiers and bolstering them, meaning making them better, bringing more cards that activate them into your deck so that they can take more actions and move on the objectives. Everything is objective based. So it's like capture part A and part B, and you have to move on those and hold those. Each soldier, I think one of the things that it excels at is each type of soldier has a function. Typically your riflemen are the ones that can control objectives. Your scouts open up new terrain so you can move into them. Your leaders either inspire, give you better results, or they help you build your deck a little more effectively. It just works really well in that tactical, but it is lighter, right? You're building a deck of cards, you're building that deck, you're dependent on it, but it really comes off to be a very tactical game. Up until, I think, Battle of Britain, the tactical elements, like line of sight, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, there's just no line of sight.
You can see from one tile to the next, no matter what's drawn on it, which is okay, right?
It's not that kind of game.
It's not that kind of game. There's no difference in the dice. But then, in the newest version, which is a sci-fi version, they've added some line of sight concepts, like when you look down, you get to upgrade your dice if you're firing on those. So you go from a 8-sider to a 10-sider, or a 10-sider to a 12.
Yeah. Or if you're attacking up a hill,
you go down.
You get a degraded dice.
So David and Trevor have kind of started adding elements like that, but it still holds on to the base of its deck building, right?
Yeah, and it does without it being complex. Like this is still no more complicated than any of the other ones in the series.
Well, and I think one of its strengths is its light and fun rule set that just keeps the game moving.
It's supposed to take 45 minutes to an hour to play a scenario, and it does.
Yeah.
This is by far and away much more rules light than the other ones. This was really good. I really like this
so
as a
excellent.
package. I think I might like it more than the World War II ones.
I love it. So one of the innovations that was started with Undaunted Reinforcements was the game can be played by 4 players. So you literally do teams of 2 and 2. That has carried over into Callisto 2200, and you played that for the first time. I've now played it 3 or 4 times. What did you think of the team-focused?
So you had said, the 4-player was so good, and I'm like, sure. When it was built into this and we played it 4-player, which is the only way that I have played this, it was so good that might be the only way that I play Undaunted from now on. Because I loved it so much 4-player. Just the way that it changes what you do and focuses your action.
Yep.
And what that does to the board, I think is really interesting.
Yep.
And it just was really fun to also play a game that is made for fun with more people.
Yep.
That was also an extra joy as well.
Our last debrief, we talked about multiplayer war games. It's just more fun to get 4 people at a table than just 2. But Undaunted is a very good series. It started with Normandy. It went to North Africa. North Africa changed the scale and the way things worked a little bit. And
it
really
went like even closer.
Yeah, it made it really fun and unique. They then did Reinforcements, which added the 4-player team mode. They also did a solo mod, which I have never played. Then it went to Stalingrad, which was a legacy style game. Very, very fun. your troops literally degraded over time, which is very Stalingrad.
And sometimes might get better and then degrade.
Yes. But then now it's in a sci-fi setting. And then Battle of Britain, which we own. It's an air combat game.
Yeah, it's still quite different.
Yep, has some very unique elements. So this is a really good tactical system. I think this is a tactical system that people can use to lure people from kind of the more traditional side of board gaming into wargaming. Definitely would recommend these.
And yes, it is a trap.
Yes, it's a trap.
Yeah, these are excellent introductory style tactical war games.
And they're just fun.
Yeah, just good fun.
They're just fun.
Let's talk about the Sherman leader.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull up.
Yeah, you've got your
Thunderbolt Apache leader.
Yep. So if you don't know anything about the Leader series of games, these are a line of solitaire war games designed by Dan Verson Games that address different theaters of combat, styles of combat. They have all different types, right? This is a World War II Sherman. There's a Tiger Leader, which is World War II Germans. Thunderbolt Apache Leader is modern day Afghanistan, Iraq, right?
What's funny is this goes from Libya 1984 all the way up until Iran 2014.
Okay.
Like there's a campaigns for each one of those.
Got it.
But yeah, this one is you are like one Warthog or one Apache, and you have to go and clear the board.
And the same here. You're a group of 3 or 4 tanks.
Yeah, this one you are one.
You're just single. But that's one of the strengths I think of the Leader series is they're all different. Phantom Leader, Vietnam.
Yeah, and Phantom Leader.
It's not as not tactical.
I didn't put on this because you have a whole squadron that you're taking care of.
Right.
Now you're going to bring some of them on missions, but you could put it in this. I suppose it's a tactical air war game.
Yeah.
But that one's about doing like bombing runs and air-to-air combat and stuff.
Yep.
It's really my favorite in the series. But this one's also really, really good.
Well, this one's very good as well. Very much enjoyed this, but
they're just great solo games as well. They give you an opportunity to do something wargaming on your own.
And the rules for the bots really make sense, right? They do a kind of a list of priorities, and they will move and shoot based on where you are and where you're located.
And it's not mega complicated.
Nope. Anybody can do these.
And it's one of those things where sometimes you can game it a little bit where you're like, well, I know kind of what they're going to do, so I'm going to do a different thing.
Sure.
You're like, well, yeah, my intelligence is, I learned.
Well, you've learned their tactics.
The tactics.
Yep.
And until they change what they do, I can take advantage of that. But you had to go through the rocky part of the campaign where they were smoking you.
Yeah.
And then you got that intelligence and you pick it up at the end. So you usually get a great arc in a campaign that you play as well.
But these are really good tactical war games. They really are. Not all of them are tactical, but there's several that
several that really like this is you're one guy and you're like,
yeah,
I got to go take out that one SAM site over here. And
but
one AAA unit.
Sherman Leader, Thunderbolt Apache Leader, they're just
those are good examples.
I think we're getting kind of long in the tooth. Do we want to talk about SAS Rogue?
We definitely do,
because that one's really fun.
This also just funded on Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold it up because I don't want to spill it all. So this is SAS Rogue Regiment from WordForge Games. This is their first original game that they've put out.
They did kind of a reprint of D-Day Dice.
Yes.
Right. But with some expansions.
So this is, you are a crack SAS team. Again, this is a cooperative game. So you're going to play with anywhere, was it 4 guys? I think it was 4.
I think so,
and I think it's always 4. And so if you play with 4 players, you have 1 each. You play with 2, we had 2 each. And you have to figure out how to do the missions. And this is the Kickstarter Black Box Edition. And I got all the expansions for it. And as such, there's like a ton of missions in here. I think if you buy just the regular plain old base game at retail, I think there's 9 missions.
There's enough, right?
Yeah. But you're gonna, this is sneaky for the first half of the game.
So it's tactical that is more focused on maneuver, keeping quiet, eliminating units without drawing attention.
And this is like,
it's not an open firefight.
The Germans will literally have a patrol route that's mapped out because you have sat there and watched them do it.
Right.
And so then,
but they can change sometimes where they'll flip around.
And then, so you're like one guy and you have like a facing and you're going to go and walk and you're going to sneak behind one German patrolman and you're going to go and stab him in his neck and drag his body and
Hide
put
it
it
in the
into the
bushes.
forest, right?
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff you're doing. Like when you shoot your guns, like you have one gun and it has a number of bullets.
Yep.
And if you run out of bullets, not good.
Well, and ultimately, I think almost every one of the scenarios do devolve into an open firefight. But
it's trying to do that on your terms.
well, trying to make that as late as possible to put yourself in the position to be able to be as successful as possible.
So, they have a new expansion that just funded
saw that.
on Kickstarter,
Kickstarter.
which we backed. They have in that some pure stealth missions.
Oh, nice.
Where if you trigger the alarm, you
You're done.
fail.
Okay.
And so there's ones where they've really tried to change that of like, cool, people are getting into gunfights. Some of them it's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
But they also have like, they have counters that have like 6 Germans on it. And like, it's a full like squad march.
Okay.
And they have like...
So you gotta be quiet.
Yeah, they've added a ton of stuff. I'm really excited for that. But yeah, this is a really neat game. Very different in style again from some of the stuff we've talked about.
Yep.
But really, really enjoyed, and an extremely good first outing for this company. Like they really, really did a good job.
The other thing I very much enjoy about this is the individuality of each of the different guys that you control. You know, and there's like 8 of them, but you use 4, but they're all good at different things.
Yeah.
Right? Some are good, like one of my guys had a wetsuit and a scuba tank. And
He's good at swimming, yeah.
I was able to go into the river and use that to my advantage. And, there's just a lot of that variability, but it's because you're playing one guy.
Well, there was this
the
one that
demolition
had
guy
the
that you had.
French lady who had the costume? Oh, maybe that's in the expansion.
I don't remember.
I can't remember if that's the expansion I just read about, but there's one where there is a character who has a disguise.
Okay.
So they have a like a German disguise outfit and then a regular one. That might be in the new expansion that we haven't talked about. But like,
okay.
But that's what I'm talking about. There's so much individuation in the characters and so and you're like halfway through a mission, you're like, oh man, we should have brought that guy.
Yeah, right.
But then you're like, well, we also couldn't have done without who we do have.
Sure.
Well,
but I think that's one of the things when you look at the objectives and the mission, you kind of got to decide to make your little troop the most effective that it can be in that situation. So, very much enjoyed that part of it. This is just a lark. I had a great
very
time
beer
with
and
this. Very
pretzels
fun.
and just fun.
Lots of dice rolling for hitting. And
Very tense.
Grenades do a lot of damage. It's just very
Half
very
the time
fun.
you're like, I have no idea how we're going to do this.
Yeah,
And
right.
Somehow you like pull out and you're like, yes.
Do we want to talk about some of the ancient? I think we're starting to get long in the
Okay,
tooth.
so
We've got like 5 other
Let's
systems.
blitz through a couple of
Yeah.
these real quick then.
You need like a tow cable.
Here, we'll just run through all these real quick.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Julius Caesar. This is one of those things where it's tactical in nature. It might not necessarily be tactical at all because you have like some Caesar's whole army in a line.
Right.
But the actual combat resolutions that you're doing, the terrain affects, how much force your horses go downhill on, or how you charge, or
And the
your
troop
capacity
quality,
to
right?
retreat. Yeah.
Phalanx units are better against
There's
certain types of
a
units.
massive matrix of that.
Yeah.
I've got this type of weapon against this type of weapon, and
Where
it gives
does it
us
cross?
this
Yeah.
modifier
This is a
to
DRM.
this die roll.
Yeah.
That is very tactical because you're then positioning within that line is extremely important.
Yeah.
So and that's how all ancient battles were fought. So you don't have like, I've got 5, centurions fighting in a building. It's not Fallujah, right? Like that's not.
Right.
This is the only way you can do combat in ancients.
But that's the tactical side
But
of
this
the
system
more traditional.
builds the tactical
Yeah.
stuff into it really, really well. It's quite
Yeah.
complex, quite deep, but really, really good.
Another one that we very much enjoyed, and we have Assault Red Horizon 41 over there, which is kind of the East Front version.
That was the first offering.
This is Assault Sicily 43 Gila Beachhead from Assault Games. This is actually published by Sound of Drums, which is a Swiss company that does a fantastic job in production.
They do, yeah. So Sound of Drums does their own designs,
Right.
But they also partnered with Assault Games to publish them. So it was a bit. They get nicer production, nicer box quality, and they also do distribution as well.
Yeah, and this is a combined arms tactical system, World War II. One of my favorite parts about this system is
the biggest box
Well,
in
it's
tactical
huge.
wargaming as well.
there's so much in this box too. This has a campaign mode, the other ones do not, but I love the use of the different colored dice and how they relate to hard target, soft target. You know, it's just really well done.
And they got a nice tray in here as well.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That they really like.
But here's
the old ones had a tray in too.
Let me just grab the dice, because I think the dice are, they're all.
It's all packed away, but they have custom dice in here.
But they're colored and they're better or worse. But it's based on what type of unit is firing at what type of unit. And it's just a really well done, fun, and I think lighter but very crunchy system. I very much enjoyed that. Now that we've received that, I would love to get back to playing a couple scenarios in that. Let's talk about.
So here is a Normandy, kind of another pulpy, fun game.
Yep.
This is effectively a miniatures war game on a
counters.
grid. In a box. So this one was. We've played a couple games of this, extremely challenging. Some of them, like just absolutely brutal.
The Normandy landings were ridiculous.
Like, okay. But this is a game of like, you have activations, and those are really important. If you can activate someone, you have dummy counters, and you issue your orders, and then those are the guys who, in the descending numerical orders, get to attack. But you get, terrain effects. You get different distance fire, different types of fire, and the artwork's really fun, and this is great to play with as well.
It has a specific flavor, but I think it's a very well done system, and it's so modular. Like, there's so many different scenarios with so many different types of units and situations. There's equipment, there's vehicles. It's just all here, and this is the Big Red 1 edition reprint of. I think the first one.
Unfortunately, this company, Devil Pig Games, went under this year or last year, and so
the Pacific one won't be funded.
We'd funded their Pacific campaign, and so we're just going to take a bath on that. I don't think we'll ever see that money ever again, which is very irritating.
It's a shame,
But I hope that they're able to get themselves together and get it going again.
Well, I'm not going to back a Kickstarter. I'll wait until it comes into retail.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that again.
And I hope that they are able to fund it some other way, because they can't be trusted, right?
But it doesn't.
But this game, if you have it,
it's amazing. And I have so much of it that we could continually play this. This could actually be probably the only tactical system that you.
And there are people who this is what they have.
Yep.
And if you look at the artwork, that tells you exactly what you're getting in this box, right? It is a for fun game. It's a beer and pretzels game, and it's very enjoyable.
Very, very good.
The system for what it is.
Yeah, I had a blast with it, and would love to. I think we've.
There's 10,000 other games we could talk about. We could talk about. What was that? The Civil War game from Chris Muller, 1862.
Oh yeah, I almost brought that one.
Right?
It's Brother Against Brother.
Very tactical style Civil War game.
And he's got the next volume in that series that's already being worked on.
We have
very good.
65.
Yep.
From Flying Pig Games. We have the
85 or 89.
89, which is the Soviet-Afghan war game. Those are really good. And
card-driven.
The best game, and I only just thought about this now, one of my favorite tactical games, and tactical we're going to use with a caveat, is Armageddon War.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Because I think because the actual scale isn't necessarily quite tactical, because the unit's a little bit larger, but boy does it feel tactical. And it has one of my favorite initiative systems of all time. It's extremely good.
Well, it's not an alternating system. It's a
chip pull system.
Yeah, it's very good.
But it's a rolling chip pull. You never have a reset phase, and it is stunning. That's one of my favorite games.
It just makes the game feel like a rolling engagement.
Yes. And
it works really well.
And it just feels like the pace of it is furious, and then when you get to the end, you get to breathe. And so few games do that. Because you play a turn, and then we do a reset phase and do all the admin. And then we play another turn, and you do that. Okay, cool. That game was like, you go, and you're like, well, and then it ends, and you're like, okay, that was intense.
The other thing I really loved about that one is it had all different types of scenarios. Like the one scenario that we played that I very much enjoyed was like the VIP one, where you were trying to guard the guy in the limousine.
Yeah, there was like and it was like
that was so good.
You get to ambush them, and there was IEDs, and then the other one was like
a huge tank battle.
Pitched battle with Russian tanks.
Yeah, it was
like,
amazing.
It can do that system can do so much. If you Armageddon War.
Well, they did a second edition,
which I'm like yes, but also like please, I cannot wait for more of that game.
Yeah, so good. They need to do more.
I think they are doing.
They're working on
it. That is one of those underrated games though that I don't. Someone's played it. They did a second edition. People are playing it.
We played it.
Please go and play that game.
Yeah,
it's good. Really good.
It's very good.
But yeah, there's a billion other tactical.
I mean, we've got like 4 or 5. We just need to probably cut it off. My final comment about tactical games. I love them because they generate such an interesting and unique narrative.
Yeah.
You're building a story as you go along. I used to do the AARs for our plays of Combat Commander, and I never had a bad time playing the game and then thinking about it and then writing those AARs. But Wargames all tell a narrative. I think narrative-focused tactical games are just the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I agree. You get a good story out of any good game, but in a tactical game, the story is more personal.
Yeah.
And I think I connect
lone
to that
soldiers.
more. Yeah. Or a squad, and you're like, it wasn't like, hey, 30 Core was heroic driving up the road to Arnhem.
That's great too.
Yeah, it's this guy.
Yeah.
Jumped over all of his frickin' shots.
Yep.
Ran
threw
across
a grenade.
the map.
Yep.
Threw his satchel charge into the trench and survived the whole thing.
Yep.
Give him a frickin' medal.
Yep.
And there's something about that I really find engaging in a game experience, for sure. And that's why I like things like Warfighter, because it's like, I got a picture of that guy too. And like,
oh yeah.
I don't know. I love it.
Tactical to me is the most personal of the scales. You know, operational is great. We love operational scale.
An operational game.
Strategic, I love strategic. Grand strategic, I love grand strategic. But tactical is just so personal, and you just get involved, and you get sucked in, and it's just so visceral.
I'm not going to hate on ASL
just like
much
a video
more.
game, but
that's what I didn't get from ASL.
Okay.
I did not get sucked in, and I did not get that touch to it.
Because you were so worried about the mechanics and the crunch of it.
There's so much rules overhead, and you were just doing the mechanics.
Over and over again.
And it just didn't have those moments in it. I think that's what I didn't like about it. I think that's actually puts words to the things that I did not.
So tell us why Alexander's an idiot.
Oh yeah.
Just please,
tell
us.
And I know they have a million stories that are really good. I just couldn't get there with that.
Yeah.
That's all. But yes, let us know what your favorite tactical systems are. Tell us your favorite tactical stories.
Name your top 3 tactical, just off the top of your head.
Top 3 tactical games? Oof, tough.
It's hard.
I would say Combat Commander. I would say...
It's hard.
Boy. I'm going to say Warfighter.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say... Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to say Armageddon War.
Okay.
If we want to throw that out because of what it is, I might consider 65 Alone in the Jungle.
Okay, that's also very good.
I really liked it.
Yeah. I would have to say Combat Commander, Conflict of Heroes, and OST. But there's so many more that I love. I mean, it's just hard.
And I loved Heroes of the Falklands too.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah. It is. Yep. Anyway.
Let us know what your favorite tactical games are. Appreciate you for sticking with us. I'm Alexander from PlayersAid.com.
And I'm Grant.